You take that magnesium pill every single night, you swallow it with your other tablets, you drink your water, and you go to bed sure you did something good for your heart. But here is the hard truth. Most of that pill is going straight down the drain, and your body barely sees a fraction of it. The mistake is not the magnesium, the mistake is how you are taking it. And the fix costs less than $1 and takes about 10 seconds. Here's what almost nobody tells you. Your grandmother knew how to get minerals into her body without a single supplement bottle in the house. That knowledge got buried under fancy labels and marketing. And there is a study from 1991 published in a respected medical journal that proves the old way was right all along. I will show you exactly what it found, and you can use it tonight in your own kitchen with what you already own. I remember standing in my grandmother's pantry in the summer, the screen door banging behind me, watching her tap a little white powder into a warm glass. She never called it a supplement. She called it her nightcap. And she slept like a stone until she was 91 years old. For years, I laughed that memory off. I did it the modern way. I walked into the pharmacy, I stared at that wall of bottles, and I picked the biggest, strongest magnesium I could find. 400 milligrams in one giant tablet. I figured more must be better. I figured the number on the bottle was the number going into my body. I was wrong. And being wrong about that cost me years of restless nights, twitching legs, and a heart that skipped beats at 2 in the morning while I lay there wondering what was wrong with me. So let me tell you what I finally learned, because it changed everything about how I take that mineral, and it might just change how yours works too. Let me start with the thing that shook me the most. Your body cannot absorb a large dose of magnesium all at once. It simply is not built that way. There is a ceiling, and once you pass it, the rest is wasted. Back in 1991, a research team led by a doctor named Fine published findings in the Journal of Clinical Investigation. They measured exactly how much magnesium the human gut actually takes in at different doses. And what they found should be printed on every bottle sold. When you take a small amount of magnesium, your body absorbs a large share of it, somewhere around 65 to 70%. But when you take a big dose all at once, that percentage collapses. At high intake, absorption can drop down to 11 or 12%. Think about that for a moment. That giant 400 milligram horse pill I was so proud of. My body was pulling maybe 40 or 50 milligrams of usable magnesium out of it. The rest passed straight through me. I paid for 400 and used 50. I was flushing money and health down the toilet literally every single night. And here is the part that stung. My grandmother, with her little glass of powder, was doing it right by instinct. She took a small amount. She took it slow. She took it warm, which helped it dissolve and move gently. She never overloaded her system, so her system actually kept what she gave it. Now, why does this matter so much for you and me? At our age, more than it ever did when we were young. Because as we get older, our gut becomes less efficient at pulling minerals from what we eat. Stomach acid drops. The lining changes. Medications interfere. So the older you are, the more that absorption ceiling works against you, and the more that one big pill goes to waste. But absorption was only the first thing I got wrong. Because even after I learned to take less, I was still making a second mistake that quietly canceled out the good I was doing. And this one is even more common. Here is a question I want you to sit with. What else are you swallowing at the exact same moment as your magnesium? For most people my age, the answer is a little pill organizer stuffed full of everything at once. The blood pressure tablet, the vitamin D, and very often a big calcium pill sitting right there next to the magnesium. We were told for decades to take calcium for our bones, so millions of us swallow it every morning without a second thought. But calcium and magnesium are rivals. They compete. They use some of the same doorways to get through the wall of your intestine and into your blood. When you flood your gut with a big slug of calcium at the same time as your magnesium, the calcium crowds the line and your magnesium gets left standing at the door. I did not know this. For 2 years, I took them together, proud of my little routine, wondering why my leg cramps never fully went away. I was pouring two minerals into the same narrow hallway and expecting them both to walk through side by side. They do not. Your grandmother's generation never had this problem, and here is why. They did not get their calcium and magnesium from two separate bottles swallowed in the same gulp. They got calcium from a glass of milk at breakfast and magnesium from beans, greens, and whole grains at supper. Hours apart, spread across the day. The body had time to handle one, then the other. The separation was built right into how they ate, without anyone ever thinking about it. So the fix here costs you nothing at all. You do not throw anything away, you just move things apart. Take your calcium in the morning if you take it. Take your magnesium at night, at least 2 hours later. Give each mineral its own quiet moment to be absorbed, and suddenly both of them work the way they were supposed to. Because once I started asking why nobody ever told me any of this, I found something that genuinely made me angry. Think about it. The instinct to take one big pill and be done with it did not come from nowhere. It was sold to us. A single high number on a label looks powerful on a store shelf. 400 milligrams sounds like more value than 100 milligrams, even when your body can only use a sliver of the bigger dose. The bottle is designed to impress your eyes, not to serve your gut. And the whole idea of buying calcium in one bottle and magnesium in another bottle and vitamin D in a third, that is 3 products instead of one plate of real food. Every mineral got separated onto its own shelf, given its own price tag, and marketed as its own miracle. The knowledge that these things work together, in balance, at the right time, got quietly chopped up and sold back to us piece by piece. My grandmother would have found the whole thing absurd. She did not own a single supplement. She owned a pantry, a garden, and a few simple habits handed down from her own mother, and her blood pressure at 85 was better than mine was at 60. That is when I stopped trusting the label and started trusting the memory. And the deeper I dug into how her generation actually did it, the more I realized we did not lose this knowledge by accident. We traded it away, one convenient bottle at a time. Now let me show you the second half of what I got wrong, because taking less and spacing it apart is only the beginning. The next mistake is about which magnesium you took and why that word glycinate on your bottle is the smartest thing about it, if you use it right. Here is something that surprised me. Not all magnesium is the same, and the cheapest kind, the one hiding in most bargain bottles, is the one your body wants the least. The most common form on the shelf is magnesium oxide. It is cheap to make, so it fills the discount bottles and the 2-for-1 deals, but magnesium oxide is one of the hardest forms for your body to absorb. Studies have put its absorption down in the single digits for many people. It is the form most likely to send you running to the bathroom because so much of it never gets absorbed that it just draws water into your bowel and moves on through. Magnesium glycinate is a different animal entirely. It is magnesium bound to glycine, which is a simple amino acid, a building block your body already uses. That glycine acts like a chaperone. It walks the magnesium calmly through your gut wall and into your blood, gently, without the stomach upset. This is why the smart bottles say glycinate on them. It is the gentle, absorbable form, the one your aging gut can actually handle. But here is the beautiful part that almost nobody uses on purpose. That glycine doing the escorting is not just a delivery truck. Glycine itself is calming. It is one of the quiet signals your brain uses to settle down at night. Researchers studying sleep have found that glycine taken before bed helps people fall asleep faster and reach deeper, more restful sleep. So when you take magnesium glycinate at night, you are getting 2 gifts in one. The magnesium relaxes your muscles and steadies your heart rhythm. The glycine calms your mind and deepens your sleep. Taken together at night, they do exactly what my grandmother's warm nightcap did all those years ago. She could not have told you the chemistry, but she knew the result. She knew it put her out like a light and let her wake up without an ache. And this is the mistake I see everywhere. People buy the good glycinate, then take it at 8 in the morning with a cup of coffee, wasting the calming effect entirely, then wonder why they still lie awake at night. They bought the right key and used it on the wrong door. Move it to the evening. Take it about an hour before bed. Small dose, warm water if you like, away from your calcium, away from your other pills. That is the whole method. And it turns a mineral you were half wasting into the best part of your night. Now, I know what some of you are thinking, because I thought it too. You are thinking this all sounds fine for people with money to burn on fancy supplements and time to fuss over timing. Maybe you are on a fixed income. Maybe there is no room in the budget for pills at all. Maybe you live alone and there is no one to remind you or fuss over your routine. That simple gap, that 2-hour space, did more for my night cramps than any brand switch ever did. And I had been standing in the pharmacy blaming the product when the problem was the timing all along. Now, everything I just walked you through, the timing, the ratios, the old pantry wisdom that got buried under marketing, I spent a long time pulling it all together into one place. I wrote it up in a book called Start Strong, and it is part of a series that includes Senior Mastery and Senior System, built specifically for people at our stage of life who are tired of being sold complicated solutions to problems that have simple answers. If you want the full picture in one place, what to take, when to take it, what to eat, and how to stop wasting money on things your body cannot even use, the link is in the description below. A lot of readers have told me it was the first health book that actually felt written for them, not for a 25-year-old at a gym. Take a look when you have a moment. But there is a reason this got so complicated, and it is not an accident. So let me talk directly to you now, because this next part is built for exactly your situation, and it does not require you to buy a single thing. Here is the truth the supplement wall does not want you to notice. You do not actually need a bottle to fix a magnesium shortage. Your grandmother did not have one, and she was better supplied than most people today. Magnesium is sitting in ordinary, cheap food, the kind that used to be on every supper table before we replaced it with boxes and packages. A handful of pumpkin seeds, a cup of cooked beans, a few squares of dark chocolate, the real bitter kind, a banana, a pot of oatmeal, a spoonful of peanut butter, a serving of spinach or any dark leafy green. These are some of the richest sources of magnesium on earth, and they cost pennies compared to a bottle of capsules. Here is a plan you can start tonight with what is probably already in your kitchen. In the morning, a bowl of plain oatmeal. That alone gives you a real dose of magnesium to start the day. At supper, add a serving of beans or greens to your plate, whatever is cheapest at your store. Canned is perfectly fine, just rinse them. And in the evening, a small square of dark chocolate or a spoonful of peanut butter as your little nightcap. Spread across the day like that in small amounts. You are hitting that sweet spot the 1991 research found, where your body absorbs the largest share. You are not dumping it all in at once. You are trickling it in the way the human body was designed to receive it, the way people did for thousands of years before anyone sold a pill. And there is one more free trick, the one that takes me right back to that screen door in my grandmother's pantry. It is the oldest magnesium remedy in the modern world, and it is still sitting in the laundry aisle for a couple of dollars. Epsom salt, the plain white crystals your mother probably kept under the sink. That is magnesium sulfate, and it was named after a town called Epsom in England, where it was discovered bubbling up in a bitter spring back in 1618. For more than 400 years, People have soaked aching muscles in warm water with a scoop of Epsom salt dissolved in it and felt the tension melt away. Now, I will be honest with you, the way an honest neighbor should. Scientists still argue about how much magnesium your skin absorbs from a bath, but here is what is not up for argument. A warm soak before bed relaxes your muscles, calms your nervous system, and helps you sleep, and it costs almost nothing. A single box of Epsom salt runs about $1 or $2 and lasts for many baths. For the price of one bottle of fancy capsules, you could soak every week for a year. My grandmother did both. The little glass of powder inside, the warm soak on the nights her knees ached. She was not following a program. She was following what worked, passed down from women who had no pharmacy for 100 miles. And it kept her walking, sleeping, and sharp into her 90s. So if money is tight, hear me clearly. You are not shut out of this. You were never shut out. The whole reason our grandparents stayed strong was that the answer was always in the food and the warm water, not the store. The store is the expensive detour. The kitchen was the original pharmacy. But even with all of this, the food, the timing, the spacing, the right form, there was still one final piece I was missing. And when I found it, buried in old nutrition records, it explained why so many of us feel that magnesium never quite does enough, no matter how carefully we take it. Here is the question that led me to it. If magnesium is in all this ordinary food, and people ate this food for generations, then why are so many of us short on it today? Why does a doctor tell one person after another that their levels are low? The answer sits in the soil and in a set of numbers that the government itself has been quietly tracking for decades. When the National Research Council first published its official recommended daily amounts back in 1941, they set targets for minerals like magnesium based on the food of that time. And the food of that time was richer. The vegetables of the 1940s grew in soil that had not yet been farmed to exhaustion. Study after study comparing old crop data to modern crop data has found that the mineral content of many vegetables has fallen over the decades. The spinach your grandmother ate carried more magnesium and iron per leaf than the spinach on the shelf today. So we are eating the same foods, but they are quietly weaker. And at the same time, the national surveys, the ones that track what Americans actually eat, keep finding that roughly half of us do not get even the minimum recommended magnesium in a day. Half. That is not a rare deficiency in a few unlucky people. That is most of us, walking around a little short, wondering why we cramp, why we cannot sleep, why our hearts flutter at night. And here is the finale, the piece that pulled it all together for me, hidden in plain sight in that old nutritional thinking. It is not just how much magnesium you take, it is the ratio between your calcium and your magnesium. The old researchers understood balance in a way the modern shelf has completely forgotten. For most of human history, people ate calcium and magnesium in a fairly even balance, roughly 1-to-1 or close to it. But over the last century, as dairy was pushed hard and calcium supplements became a national habit, that balance tipped. We started swallowing enormous amounts of calcium and very little magnesium. And calcium without enough magnesium to balance it does not just sit there quietly. Calcium is what makes muscles contract. Magnesium is what lets them relax. When you have far too much calcium and far too little magnesium, your muscles get the signal to tighten, but not enough of the signal to let go. Think about what your heart is. It is a muscle that must contract and relax every second of your life. Now think about those night cramps, that racing pulse, that tension that will not release. That is the balance tipped too far toward contraction and not enough toward release. That is not a magnesium problem alone. It is a ratio problem. And no single bottle on the shelf is going to fix a ratio because the whole shelf is built to sell you more of the mineral you already have too much of. This is the piece I never heard from anyone. Not a doctor, not a label, not a commercial. I found it by going backward into the old nutrition science and the old way of eating, where calcium and magnesium arrived together in balance from real food, hours apart, in small amounts the body could actually use. So here's what to do with everything now, all in one simple picture. Take your magnesium as glycinate, the gentle form, in a small dose, not a giant one. Take it in the evening, about an hour before bed, so the glycine helps you sleep. Keep it at least 2 hours away from any calcium and away from your other medications, so nothing crowds it out at the door. Feed the same mineral through real food across the day, oats in the morning, beans or greens at supper, a square of dark chocolate at night, and when your body aches, run a warm bath with a scoop of Epsom salt, the same remedy people have trusted since 1618. Small amounts spread out, balanced and timed. That is the whole secret. That is what got lost. I want to leave you with the thought that changed how I see all of this. We did not lose this knowledge because it stopped working. It works just as well today as it did in my grandmother's pantry. We lost it because it could not be put in a bottle and sold back to us at a markup. A warm bath, a bowl of oats, and the right timing do not make anyone rich. So they got pushed to the back of the shelf and covered over with brighter labels and bigger numbers. You are the kind of person who would rather know how something actually works than be sold a promise on a shiny box. I can tell because you stayed with me all the way to the end of this. That instinct to trust what works over what is merely advertised is the same instinct that kept our grandparents healthy without a single supplement aisle in sight. You have not lost it. You are using it right now. So let me ask you one thing, and I really do want to hear your answer. Do you take your magnesium in the morning or at night? And did you ever notice a difference in your sleep when you took it? Tell me in the comments below. And while you are there, tell me where you are watching from, because I love seeing how far this little pantry of old wisdom reaches. If someone taught you an old remedy like the Epsom salt soak years ago, share it, because someone reading needs to hear it. If any of this brought back a memory or fixed a problem you had given up on, stay with me. This is what we do here. We dig up the practical, honest knowledge our parents and grandparents lived by, the things that got quietly buried under products and subscriptions, and we bring them back into the light where they belong. You are not just following a channel. You are joining a group of people taking back what we were told to forget. And next time, I am going to show you the truth about vitamin D that almost nobody gets right, including the one common way of taking it that makes your body waste nearly all of it, and the forgotten habit from the 1950s that got people the same benefit for free, standing right in their own backyard. Once you see it, you will never take that little pill the same way again. Until then, take less. Space it out, balance it, and trust the old way. It knew what it was doing long before the shelf did. You stayed to the end, so let me share something. Inside the Wise Living Circle, I pick up right where we stopped, walking you through the whole split-dose kitchen protocol, mineral by mineral. And there you can ask me your own question, and a real person, me, answers you myself. You won't be alone. Folks like you are already inside. Just point your phone's camera at the code on your screen. Cancel anytime. One click.